Definitely more. Hi everyone, Sunshine Christina here. I'm working on an article and I was just thinking about how absolutely ridiculous the first couple of days of the Teresa Halbach investigation really is. I'm trying to make or write an article. I think I already said that. I'm trying to write an article detailing what the official narrative was for November 3rd and November 4th, coupled with what we know went on. So we know about this call from Deb Strauss that occurred on November 4th. And this call came in, I think, around 9 o'clock. Here, I'm going to play it over. Let's see. Hold on. Learned how to do that. Now, my problem with that is Deb Strauss had just spent 4 months investigating Manitowoc County's intentional wrongful conviction of Stephen Avery in the 1985 case. So, why is she not a fan of Stephen Avery? Now, unbeknownst to a lot of people, Deb Strauss's uncle or uncle-in-law or father-in-law is Leroy Strauss. And Leroy Strauss was the police chief of the Manitowoc Police Department for like 20 years, while Tom Kosurek was the sheriff of Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department back in the 70s and 80s. Leroy Strauss and Tom Kosurek were actually both named in a civil suit brought by a family, I think in 1984, if I remember right, for this god-awful home invasion that officers did on this family. There was kids involved, animals. They shot the family pet in front of the kids. It was like just this very violent home invasion that officers did over something, and they were in Leroy Strauss and Tom Kosurek were sued for it. So she's not a innocent bystander or someone who can be objective about Stephen Avery. And if nothing else, she should have been calling in, wanting Calumet to realize that Manitowoc County will do anything to make Stephen Avery look guilty of crimes he didn't commit, because her investigation uncovered falsified police reports, officers not saying what was really going on and trying to protect the rights of the defendant, but instead she's wanting to dig up dirt on Stephen. And you know what else is really, really troubling about this phone call that she made to Calumet County on this was like 28 hours into the investigation, okay? She never once inquired about Teresa. She didn't ask if there was any news, if there was any updates, if they had any idea where she was. It's like she didn't think about her at all. And that, to me, says that she knew that this was never going to end with Teresa being found alive and brought home safe. Now, how would she know that in the first 24 hours? So there's definitely more going on behind the scenes than officers are reporting in their paperwork. And nothing should have been known about Stephen being the last place yet, because the car hadn't even been found, according to them. Yet behind the scenes, that they're not reporting, we know that Andrew Colburn called in the plates 4 hours after the official call came in about Teresa being missing. Because Leslie Lemieux says the call came in from Karen Halbach around 5 p.m. on November 3rd. Calumet contacted Manitowoc at 6:37 p.m. on November 3rd. Now, less than 3 hours later, 7 minutes after Rimmerker's asking Colburn if he had found out who those plates come back to yet, and both men, mind you, have the attempt to locate with Teresa's information, including her license plates. So it's not like they didn't know her license plate. So they were inquiring after another vehicle with license plates unknown yet. And Rimmerker asked him at 9:15 if he found out who those plates come back to yet. Colburn says no. 7 minutes later, he calls Lynn at dispatch and asks her to run Sam William Henry 582. So there's definitely more to this story. Anyway, I just wanted to put a little bird out there, see what anybody thinks that's following the case. Thought I'd play this for us as well. This is Calumet County Sergeant Kelly Sippel calling in about all the bones found miles away from Stephen Avery's house.
Can I speak to the captain, please? Yes. Kelsey. Hey, Paul. What's up? Did you hear? There are human bones that we found? I heard about some of them, yes. Yep, okay. We got another pile that we found. Okay. And our crime scene has now expanded by about 2 miles. We're looking at trying to find, there's no way we can organize a search this evening. We're trying to find law enforcement staff for tomorrow morning to start searching. And I don't have a state patrol supervisor. Okay, I'll call them. How many people are you looking for from them? If we can get up to at least 40, that'd be great. Okay. What time? 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Okay. At the command post. Okay. And then if you can check with the PD, see if they can provide any staff. I want law enforcement. At this point, we're not sure if we really want firemen. We want to stick with We know what we're looking for evidence-wise, and we kind of want to stick with that. I got Truth sitting up at command post. I'm just covering a corner right now. And when I get back, I think he can provide us some manpower as well. So, from the Calumet PD.
Okay. Drone it?
Yeah.
We got some scratch paper there.
Now what he's doing is he burned her in the backyard, and that was a real small pile that was left. And we got 2 5-gallon pails full down at this other site about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. About a mile and a half away probably. And we got a feeling we got more pails full coming out along the way somewhere. So.
Okay. How many people are you looking for from the PDs? How about if I just ask for more troopers?
Or if they can spare them. I don't know if they're going to be able to spare them. If they can't get us 40 to 60, if we can't get 60 people out of troopers, then let's try the PDs in as well.
Okay.
And if we have at least 60 searchers, because we're going to go in small, we got to get really tight, and we're going to have to search really small parameters.
Okay.
So, otherwise, I think that was kind of why we missed some of this stuff. We had so many people doing so large of areas that we were missing things, basically. I mean, we did good searching, but we were always looking for a body. Now we're looking for smaller.
Okay. Have you looked through our scheduling? How many of our staff we can provide?
Not for tomorrow. I'm not at the command, but we're all kind of spread thin here right now. That's why I wanted to give you a call. We got tonight squared away, and this afternoon squared away for security. We're going to need another person for security, too. We're going to need 2 more people tonight for security. We got Joe coming in. I wish I had the schedule and that stuff in front of me. Work on tomorrow morning. Work on getting us people tomorrow morning, and then Brett gets back to me. We'll go up and work on securing that crime scene till tomorrow morning.
Okay. I'll make some calls.
All right, thanks.
Yep, bye.
Now, here's the thing about that call. His reports for that day, this was on November 9th. He was in the Manitowoc County Quarry, the 80-acre property owned by Manitowoc County. That's where he was at that time. His reports reflect none of this. You can tell that they have a narrative. Now, see, they've already told the media that they found bones in Stephen's burn pit. So that's why he's even trying out the new scene, the new story, right? Because they got to figure out how to incorporate what they're finding into the narrative so the media can disseminate it to the public. But the reality is, what I believe is that they never found anything in the burn pit. They probably found the first remains in the burn barrel at the deer camp. They collected it. Their intentions were to use the evidence tag switching to make sure that it originated on paper from the burn pit. But there was never anything in the burn pit to begin with. The reason we know they're lying about all of it is because they never mentioned this. He doesn't write about this in his reports. Why didn't he write about it if that's what the story was going to be? And that's because it didn't work for being conclusively only Stephen could have done this, right? Because there were other people besides Stephen who had access to the Manitowoc County Quarry. So they had to change it all. So they just used deceptive evidence labeling, the GPS coordinates, and evidence tag descriptors like Avery property southwest of Red Trailer, which in reality was 3 properties away on property owned by Manitowoc County, a quarry that could only be accessed from you couldn't even access it from Stephen's property. Because remember now, Kratz, Gahn, and Fallon, their narrative is that Teresa Halbach arrived onto Stephen's property at 2:30 on Halloween, October 31st, 2005, and she nor her vehicle never left. But the reality is that we have her vehicle originally found off the property, and we know that because of Andrew Colburn's license plate call. Now that we have access to the other documents, the radio transcripts, the dispatch calls, we found that 7 minutes before Andrew Colburn called in the license plates, Detective Dave Rimiker had asked him if he had found out who those plates come back to yet, and he responded negative. So wherever they were when they were having this phone call, so they weren't together, obviously, or why would he call him or radio him? I'm sorry, he radioed him. If they were together at the time that he wanted Colburn, you know, when he wanted to know if Colburn had figured out what Teresa's license plates were, why would he radio him? He'd just say, hey, bro, did you find out who those license plates belong to yet? But no. So that tells us that at some point, Rimiker received information about a vehicle and that looked like the RAV. And he sent Colburn to go figure out whose vehicle it was. He gave him, he thought was long enough time. In reality, it was 7 minutes. And he radioed him, hey, did you figure out who those plates come back to yet? And Colburn hadn't made it to the RAV yet, and he said negative. 7 minutes later, he calls in the RAV license plates. So they're not on Stephen Avery's property when they're doing all this. So that means the RAV is not on Stephen Avery's property on November 3rd. So they're manipulating the RAV. They're manipulating the bones. They're manipulating everything. So that tells us that these men know that Stephen Avery didn't commit the crime the way Ken Kratz said he did. And it's a wrongful conviction. Even if you think Stephen is a possible candidate, it's still a wrongful conviction because they're lying about the evidence. And these are guys who have already wrongfully convicted